Hey everyone, John Lorden here. Thank you so much for joining me again on the channel. For today's video, we're doing something a little bit different, something that I wanted to address as one of the aspects of Crime Scene, the Netflix documentary, and that was their use of the term web sleuth. So I thought, who better than to help us understand what a web sleuth truly is than Tricia Griffith, the owner of WebSleuths.com. It is actually a brand. It's not just a generalized term. As a matter of fact, if you do a search on it, it really isn't used as a generalized term in many places at all. Typically, cyber sleuth, internet detective, those are kind of the more popular conventions. It's a bit of an unfortunate side effect that web sleuth was used in that way. Tricia has expressed that she's certainly seen a little bit of fallout around all this as well. But I just wanted to kind of share the platform here, give Tricia a chance to tell us all about web sleuths and why they are different from standard internet detectives. So let's go ahead and get started with Tricia.
I am so thrilled that you have given me this chance to clear up some misconceptions about web sleuths that have just recently come about. So thank you very much. Well, there are several major differences. The first one is we are tightly moderated 24/7. You're not going to get the drama and the rumors and the baloney that you will get in other places. I've been to some Facebook groups. Some are very good. Some are awful, and it's all about drama, who hates who said this, and then they're dragging people in that don't need to be dragged in, and it's a complete mess. We want to make sure that when people come to websleuths.com to read, that when they read a discussion thread, that they will get information. They will get thoughtful looks at the evidence. We only allow what has been in the mainstream media or law enforcement or other approved sources. If it's been on social media, if there's some rumor, we don't allow it. We do our very best to make sure that those types of posts are removed. We rely on our members to hit a report button if they see a post that violates our terms of service, and then it goes to the moderator area, and then they fix it. Again, we're not perfect, but we certainly do our best. I really like to look at web sleuths in a very simple way, and that is, don't be a jerk and stick to the facts. That is what we try and do at web sleuths.
Can you tell us about the standards that you hold your users to?
No rumors, no drama. You can't be rude to somebody. If you disagree with somebody on web sleuths, you can say, well, I don't agree with your opinion, and here's why. You don't say, well, that's stupid. Why would anyone think that? We do not allow that. And that has really upset the trolls out there. They attempt every day to come in and disrupt web sleuths. So we do our best to make sure that doesn't happen. We enforce these standards by the team of volunteer moderators. We have mods from all around the world, and that way we can be moderated 24/7. Again, there are times that we don't have any mods on the forum, and there might be posts that stay up 24 hours that violate our terms of service. We do our best to remove them as quickly as possible.
What do you see as some of the main benefits of the forums at websleuths.com?
There's several. When I first took over web sleuths, one of my main goals was to let people know, and I took it over in 2004. It was already up, but it was a snake pit. It was just everybody hating each other and threatening each other, and it took a long time to get where we're at today. We changed the rules in 2008. It was really tightened them up. And in fact, I thought I made a mistake. I thought, oh my God, everybody's going to leave because now we're not allowing rumors. We're not allowing all kinds of stuff. And everybody said they were leaving. But what happened was in 2008, when we tightened the rules, people started coming out of the woodwork and saying, oh my gosh, I can post here and not be bullied. And that, with the Casey Anthony case, that is, those two things together is what created the web sleuths that we have today. But our main benefits, when I purchased web sleuths in 2004, I wanted to let people know that they were needed and wanted, because I ran a smaller forum called forumsforjustice.org. And what I found out, there were a lot of people out there that felt like they weren't needed anymore, that felt like their opinion didn't matter. And it does. We want you. You matter to us. I don't care if you're a 4-star general or if you're at home and you're 90, but you want to type and you want to participate. We want you, and you're treated. We try to treat everybody equally. So one of the main benefits was I wanted people to know that they were needed. But then what happened, I started realizing how many people out there are hurting because they have missing persons cases or they have cold cases where their loved ones were murdered and they have nowhere to go. Nowhere to go. The police aren't doing anything. Nobody's paying attention. And I can't tell you how many times I've received a communication from somebody that says, thank you. I Googled my loved one's name, and the only thing that came up with was the discussion on your website. So thank you for keeping their name out there. So I knew then that part of this, what we really wanted to accomplish was to let people know, hey, come to WebSleuths, tell us about your case, and we'll see what we can do. Sometimes, in fact, most of the time, what we can do is say, we're here and we're sorry, and let's look at the evidence. So that's the other main thing that I wanted to accomplish, was to let people know that they were needed and wanted, and to let those cases come out that didn't have all the attention that the Casey Anthonys and the John Benet Ramseys and such seem to garner. And that's a whole other story right there as well. So also, the third thing that happened was I realized what a phenomenal group we had, and what a phenomenal tool for law enforcement. Here we are from all over the world, thousands of people. It's like we're sitting in a big auditorium and we're all looking at the same evidence. And boy, let me tell you, people can come up with things that I know nobody else has come up with. So one of my main goals now is to try and work with law enforcement. And believe me, it's difficult. They want to come into the 21st century kicking and screaming. So anyway, I think the main benefits are we obviously want all people to know they're welcome. We want to help the families of those that have been affected by crime. And also, I wanted to create a community where people knew they were doing good things. And what I tell people all the time is on WebSleuths, your words have power. So remember, there's going to be somebody reading what you wrote that very well could be related to the person or the case that you're talking about. So remember, your words have power. You could just type something up and leave, go cook dinner, whatever, and you might have just devastated somebody. So we do our best to make sure that our members post in a responsible manner.
Can you tell us about some of the current challenges that you're trying to address in your forums or in the community in general?
The challenges are, boy, there are a lot of them. Keeping people on topic, making sure they don't bring over rumors, making sure everybody is polite to each other, doing our best to try and keep the conversation going and lively, and yet not restrict it so much that people feel like they can't do anything when they're here. That's a really tough line, a really tough balance, if you will. We've got to let people talk, but we don't want them to be irresponsible. And sometimes, and here's the thing too about WebSleuths, sometimes cases have a set of rules that are a little bit different depending on the case. And let me give you a case in point. Mark Sievers, okay, Tricia Sievers, the doctor, was found bludgeoned to death with a hammer in her home in Florida. Her husband and her 2 girls were in Connecticut at a funeral. Her husband's best friend was arrested, and his, I think it was his nephew or his cousin, the best friend's cousin, was arrested with him. And Mark Sievers said, I don't know who that other person is, never seen him. One of our sleuths found a wedding picture on Facebook with Mark Sievers talking to the guy he claimed he didn't know and laughing it up. So in the Mark Sievers forum, even though the police had not said that Mark Sievers was a person of interest, we allowed our members to treat Mark Sievers as a person of interest because of that big lie. So sometimes there are certain situations where we have to adjust the rules a little bit. So those are the challenges. Just trying to be fair, trying to keep people on topic, and trying to let them discuss enough to keep it interesting without going over the line. Those are our goals. We do our best to meet them. We don't always meet them, but we do our best. So
now, specifically relating to the documentary Crime Scene on Netflix, can you tell us what was said in your Elisa Lam forums about Morbid?
well, Elisa Lam had her own forum on WebSleuth, so we had multiple threads. And as far as I could tell, his real name was never mentioned. There were people on there that brought up somebody named Morbid and said that they had seen people were discussing him as a possible suspect, but it was debunked on the forum. People were debunking the fact that he was a suspect. There were some posts that said things like, yeah, his videos are kind of weird and nothing horrible, but those posts were removed. So I just really want to stress, we would never allow any sort of bullying to go on like that. If a post was missed by a moderator or it wasn't reported, if it was bad, it would get reported. We would see it, but we would never allow that. And there was never any sort of, there was never any sort of organization where all they were doing was talk about him and, he's such a creep and let's do this and let's call the police. Never. We would never allow that. I would shut the forum down before I would allow anything like that. Again, I want to stress that we do our best to remove any post, but if there was anything really negative or horrible, it would be gone. And we would never let them say his real name and never let them say, oh yeah, I think he did it. Now, I'm not saying that wasn't said. It may have been said, but the post was removed. And there was very little talk about Morbid on the site. And the last time anything was said about him was in 2013. Like I said, there were several posts that were removed and some posts left where people were debunking the fact that this Morbid person could possibly be a suspect. So something very minor and very little talked about.
If the information about the hatch actually being found open was publicized at the time, what would you have done with your Elisa Lam forums?
If we would have known about the hatch being open when Elisa Lam was found, if we had known that, you know what I would have done? I would have closed the forum down because there would be no suspect. If we had known that she was on psychiatric drugs and hadn't taken them, shut the forum down. Obviously, this is a tragic, horrible case, but it was what we were told, and again, I'm just going by memory here, was that Elisa was in the water tank naked, but the biggest part was that lid was closed. She couldn't have closed that lid in the water. And that's what made me think, and everybody think, it was a murder. And if I'd have known that back in 2013, we wouldn't even be having this discussion because we would not have had an Elisa Lam forum, and whatever discussion thread, one thread we would have had on her would have been very quickly closed down and we would have moved on. So
what do you think of other discussion groups like on Facebook or Reddit?
The other discussion groups, I like Reddit. I do. I know they've tightened up their rules, but they're still, they're still pretty wild. I know they've tightened up the rules because I went over there a few years ago and posted something and I got timed out. My one post, I got timed out. It was pretty funny. I didn't know that what I was saying was against the rules. But I think after the Boston bomber incident, which, by the way, when that happened, when Reddit started that thread, and there's a documentary called The Thread about what happened with the Boston Marathon bomber. Somebody started a thread on Reddit with a picture of this random guy and said, hey, this looks like the Boston bomber. Well, everybody was putting that picture up on all over the internet and on Reddit. Our moderators literally stayed up all night to take that picture down on WebSleuths. And we were telling people, stop it. There is nothing to connect this guy to the case. Just because he kind of looks like the possible suspect. No. And then the tragedy was learned that this poor man had already committed suicide. But that type of stuff, I think after that, it seemed like Reddit tightened up. But the problem is, and especially with Facebook, unless you have strong moderators in there to keep everybody in line, you're going to have cases like Morbid, and you're going to have more people being trashed that are innocent. It happens. And the only way it can be controlled is if you control the conversation. And I know that sounds like, people always call me China, Soviet Union, whatever. Well, all I am asking people to do is stay on topic and stick to the facts. I don't care if you don't like this poster. I don't care if you think this poster hacked your email. I don't care. Stick to the facts. And I've gone on some Facebook pages where I couldn't believe it. There was one about Abby and Libby in the Delphi murder case. And it was horrible. They were attacking the family. It was, oh my God, I couldn't believe it. And it was all about drama. And let me give everybody a hint. When you join a group, if the person in charge of the group or one of the moderators makes it all about them and what they want and how people need to be nice to them, and that person said this about them, when they make it about them, that's a red flag. Get the hell out, because they're not interested in discussing true crime. They're not. They want the fame that goes along with it, the attention. That's what they want. So I just think they need to be heavily moderated. And I do think there will come a time that the laws will catch up with the internet. And pretty soon, we're not going to be able to say the things that we've been able to say on the internet. When I say we, I'm talking collective, everybody. Because let's face it, you can call somebody horrible names, but if you did that in the New York Times would get sued. And so anyway, I do think it will happen. And then people just have to be careful. You're responsible for your words. And you just got to remember your words have power. So
what's your impression of the YouTube true crime community?
I love the YouTube crime community. I had been nicely harassed for years to start a YouTube channel. And I was terrified to do it because I don't know what I'm doing. I didn't know anything about it. And John, I love your channel, Brain Scratch. I love so many out there. There are good ones. And then there are ones with drama. And people, let me tell you, if you go after the ones with drama, that's fine. Don't expect, true crime to be accurate, okay? If a YouTuber inserts himself or herself into the case, that's bad. That's really bad. Sometimes it works out okay, but a lot of times it doesn't. And you know what happens then? Then let me back up. When that happens, the police look at people like that, and they look at people on Facebook. And then when I go to them and say, we can help you, here's what we can do, they say, we don't want any part of you and your social media. WebSleuth gets painted with that brush that we are these they think we're interfering biddies out there, as John Ramsey called us, beer can collecting housewives, which I wear with pride. They think we're all the same, and we're not. So please pick carefully the people that you want to become involved with. And if somebody, when I say somebody inserts himself in the case, I don't mean just involved in the case and finding out more. I'm talking about literally inserting themselves into the case. I mean, they are a part of the story. That is not good. And if you go on a channel and they're talking about another creator said this and that, and there's a big fight, forget it. Stick to the facts and stick to the channels that stick to the facts the best they can, okay?
Does WebSleuths actually help progress any cases? Can you give us any examples?
Actually help? Yeah, absolutely we have. I've got several examples. I'm going to tell you one really quickly. And one of them is a case out of Nevada I got a call one day from a detective who said, we have had this piece of evidence for 23 years, and I'm going to release it to you and see if your sleuths can figure it out. And what it was an unidentified man who had been murdered. And he was found 23 years before. I think this was in 2014. He had been found wearing a T-shirt with a emblem on it of some sort, and they could not find out where that T-shirt was made. 23 years they looked. So we put it up on WebSleuths, and for about a week and a half or so, our members were working really hard on it, and they were doing great work. Well, one of our members came back from vacation, looked at it, and within 36 hours, she had found out where it was made, when it was made, how much it cost, where you could buy it back then, where you can buy it now. She found out everything. And the detective was so impressed, he held a press conference and even talked about it. Now, the reason they wanted that T-shirt identified is, number one, it was driving them crazy because they couldn't find it, and they were hoping it would lead to his identity. It did not, but what it did was they were able to check that off. Now, you asked me earlier about what are some of my goals, and I didn't bring this one up. I wanted to save it till now. One thing that I work on every day is trying to get law enforcement to understand that WebSleuth is the perfect tool for them. Okay, that T-shirt is an example. The Abraham Shakespeare case is an example. Casey Anthony is an example. I can someday come on and tell you all about the stuff and the things that these wonderful sleuths have done in those cases. But the problem is law enforcement, like I said just a little bit ago, they look at WebSleuths and they think, oh, it's another Facebook. Oh, it's another Reddit. Oh, it's another, YouTuber jabbering and inserting themselves in the case. No, it's not. It's not. And I'm trying to get law enforcement to come into the 21st century kicking and screaming to realize how much social media can help them. There are some cases that are just closed down, and it's ridiculous. One of them is the Delphi murder case. Why don't they release more information? Come to us, say, here's a little piece. You know what? Here's what we can offer them. I can say, okay, give us something. I'll handpick the people, make them sign a non-disclosure, and let them work on it. They won't ask for any money. They won't ask for any sort of recognition. Just do something, because it's 4 years now, and you have a picture of the guy, you have a film of the video of the guy, you have his voice, and you still haven't got anything. So this isn't working for you. And I could go on and on about cases like that. So, and here's the other thing. Law enforcement reads at WebSleuths all the time. I see their IP addresses. So I don't know what information that they have pulled from WebSleuths that has helped them. I know it helps them, or else they wouldn't be there reading. So one day I hope to have a great relationship with law enforcement and let them know that really, I would say that the core of the people that want to do true crime on the internet are not the drama people and the trolls, but they're the ones that get all the attention because they're just so damn busy all the time.
Have you ever seen a witch hunt of this nature before?
I've seen witch hunts before. Trying to think. The most recent one, and it wasn't like this, but the most recent one where it was really difficult to stop people from talking was the Heidi Broussard case. She was the woman that was kidnapped. She had a newborn baby, and I think she lived in Texas. Everything seems to be happening in Texas today. I don't know why. But she was in Texas, and she was kidnapped. Her and her baby were kidnapped. And she had a fiance, and this fiance was a good old boy. Shy, just a good old Texan. Certainly not prepared to be shoved into the spotlight. Well, everybody started saying, oh, look, he's acting funny. Oh, he's this and that. I can't tell you how many people we had to time out and ban and try and get them to stop talking about this guy that way because he wasn't a suspect. Yeah, he acted a little awkward, but oh well, you don't expect to be thrown in the media like that. And there was nothing to suggest that he was responsible. Well, they went nuts on Facebook and nuts everywhere else. And I would every day go on WebSleuths, it felt like every day, and say, okay, people, your words have power. If this baby and Heidi, if they're found alive, they can come back and read this. And if this guy's innocent, you're going to own those words. And we'd be removing posts left and right. Well, come to find out, it was Heidi's best friend, some friend, kidnapped her, killed her, put her body in the trunk of her car, and kept the baby and said it was hers. That lasted about a day. So then everybody on WebSleuths and Facebook apologizing all over it. Damage is done. Damage is done.
How did your forums respond to that?
I got to say, our forums are pretty good when a quote unquote witch hunt starts to happen. But it can be hard to tamper it down. It really can be, because people are so excited and they're so sure. And it's because they want to help and they're just so sure that, this person's guilty, and it can be difficult. But I got to say, most of the time our people are really good about it. And I'm proud of what they do. Again, we miss stuff. It is not perfect, but our WebSleuth members, they know what they should and shouldn't do.
Do you have any thoughts or ideas on how we can avoid these types of witch hunts in the future?
Okay, two things have to happen. The police need to recognize that social media is here to stay. And if they don't want witch hunts, then they need to come out and say, okay, this guy has been cleared. Stop it. Or if the police would have come out and said, hey, the hatch was open, then guess what? There wouldn't have been a case. But so, if somebody's been cleared, please just come out and say it. That will help a lot. But more importantly, even more importantly than that, people need to take responsibility, and platforms need to take responsibility. Okay, right now, platforms are protected by a federal law. I think it's called 230, Bill 230. And we're protected. People can say anything they want and we can't get sued. Now, I think that law is going to change, and it should change. But it is up to the platform owners and the moderators and up to the people to stop this crap. Don't jump into these rabbit holes. My God, I remember one time on the Delphi murder case, I hadn't checked the forum for about a week and we hadn't seen any alerts. And I thought, well, that's weird. But I go on there and they're talking about some Greek writing and some Greek god and some teacher and, some sort of message on a board. And I'm like, oh God, I got so furious. I shut down the forum and I timed a bunch of people out. I banned people. I was furious because it was a ridiculous rabbit hole. But problem was, police haven't released any new information. So what happens is when nothing new comes out, sometimes people just go down rabbit holes or they turn on each other, and it can be very challenging. So in the end, I really wish law enforcement would turn to the good guys in social media, the ones that really want to help and not start drama and not accuse people just randomly out of the blue. I wish they would come to us and let us help them. Maybe if we team up, we can convince them that we are the good guys here. Finally, truly, you are responsible for your words. When it comes right down to it, it is you. So before you type in something nasty about somebody or some flippant comment, remember that comment, even if you erase it, very easily it could be on the internet 30 years later, and some kid could be reading it about their parent. And you've just made some rotten statement and went off to go party. Your words have power, people.
I really appreciate you, Tricia. WebSleuths was such a big inspiration for me in terms of creating my content and trying to cultivate the conversations in a bit of a specific way to be more focused on the case, more focused on the victims, more focused on the families. Before we end today, I just wanted to say thank you and also ask, did you have any additional comments that you wanted to make?
All the answers to your questions are to the best of my memory. If I made a mistake, somebody finds it, let me know, please, okay? Secondly, I really want people to know that in the Netflix docu-series 4-part about Elisa Lam and the Cecil Hotel, that when they talk about web sleuths, it's web space sleuths, okay? Not web sleuths, which is one word, which is trademarked by me. Why they had to do that, I don't know, because in the second episode, they showed a screenshot of WebSleuths. My forum, it's WebSleuths.com. But when you talk about WebSleuths, you don't say web space sleuths, small letters. No, you say WebSleuths. And the confusion it has caused is terrible. I don't even know where to begin. So I don't know why they didn't use amateur sleuth, internet sleuths, anything but web space sleuth. I mean, you type it in on Twitter and you do a hashtag, you can't do a web space sleuth hashtag. It goes together. So guess what? I get notified. And we've been going around trying to explain this to everybody. And so far, it has been fairly okay. But it's still, I still don't know. I still don't know if it's going to be okay. I've tried to contact Netflix. I've not heard back from them. I feel at the end, at the very least, at the end of the 4th episode, they should put a disclaimer on that when they're talking about web space sleuths, it's not the trademark WebSleuths. You know, how would they like it if people were going around talking about net space flicks being a bunch of killers? You know, I mean, really, they'd flip out. I'd be hearing from their lawyers immediately. So I've written them. I hope I hear back from them. But John, if there's anything you can do to clear up the confusion that Web Space Sleuths is not WebSleuths, which is a trademark name for a true crime discussion forum where we have rules about and against the type of bullying that Morbid unfortunately had to deal with. So it goes against everything that we stand for. Anyway, thanks, John. Thanks, everybody. Take care.
Once again, a huge thank you to Tricia Griffith for her time today, but for also being a leader in this community. WebSleuths was around a long time before the true crime YouTube thing started happening, and it was just really great to have a model to look to and to say, you know what? Those are the types of conversations that I want to foster over on this platform as well. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much, Tricia. And I want to thank you guys because obviously you care enough to understand these things at a deeper level. I really appreciate you checking out this video, spending some time learning more about WebSleuths.com. And I hope it might motivate you to go check them out. Maybe even create an account, help add to meaningful commentary on these cases, and maybe even help progress them in some ways like Tricia explained to us today. Thank you so much, everyone. Take care. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you back here on Friday. Bit of a special episode. I'm trying to close out the issues from Crime Scene. It's the panel discussion, the big panel discussion that I talked about in the first video I put out. We finally pulled it together. Can we figure out some safeties? Can we look at other leaders in our industry to see what they might be doing to help curb some of this stuff? It's a really good conversation. I think, once again, if you're looking to help us develop this community, we want your voices to be a part of it too. So please check it out on the channel here on Friday. Take care, everyone, and I'll see you back here on the Lord and Arts channel.